On a special edition of World News Tonight, the president's testimony before the grand jury.
I'm trying to be honest with you, and it hurts me. And I'm trying to tell you the truth about what happened between Miss Lewinsky and me.
Did Mr. Clinton tell the truth? And now that his testimony will be seen by millions of people, what will it mean to his future?
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is a special one-hour edition of World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Good evening, everyone. We've never before seen a president testify to a grand jury, and in the first few minutes when it began this morning, it was a shock to simply see him there. When it was over, 4 hours later, there were any number of reactions. There is no way to predict at this early stage what the impact will be on public opinion. But our intention in this hour is to play some of the important portions of the testimony and then to report on the testimony as it pertains to the president's legal and political future. The independent counsel's report to the Congress, remember, is about perjury and obstruction of justice. And yes, there is quite a lot about the president's definition of sex in this videotape, some of which is not suitable for children. We begin with part of the president's opening statement about his relationship with Monica Lewinsky.
These encounters did not consist of sexual intercourse. They did not constitute sexual relations as I understood that term to be defined at my January 17, 1998 deposition. But they did involve inappropriate, intimate contact.
What did you believe the definition to include and exclude? What kinds of activities?
I thought the definition included any activity by the person being deposed, where the person was the actor and came in contact with those parts of the bodies with the purpose of intent or gratification, and excluded any other activity. For example, kissing is not covered by that, I don't think. Yes, I understood the definition to be limited to physical contact with those areas of the body with the specific intent to arouse or gratify. That's what I understood it to be. And I believe that is the definition that most ordinary Americans would give it. If you said Jane and Harry have a sexual relationship, and you're not talking about people being drawn into a lawsuit and being given definitions and then a great effort to trick them in some way, but you're just talking about people in ordinary conversation. I'll bet the grand jurors, if they were talking about two people they know and said they have a sexual relationship, they meant they were sleeping together. They meant they were having intercourse together. So I'm not at all sure that this affidavit is not true and was not true in Ms. Lewinsky's mind at the time she swore it out.
So your definition of sexual relationship is intercourse only, is that correct?
No, not necessarily intercourse only, but it would include intercourse. I believe that the common understanding of the term, if you say two people are having a sexual relationship, most people believe that includes intercourse.
Is oral sex performed on you within that definition as you understood it?
As I understood it, it was not, no. If the person being deposed, in this case me, directly touched the breast of another person with the purpose to arouse or gratify, under that definition, that would be included. My testimony is that I did not have sexual relations as I understood this term to be defined. I have not had sex with her as I define it. That was true.
And Monica Lewinsky says that while you were in the Oval Office area, you touched her breast. Would she be lying?
That is not my recollection. My recollection is that I did not have sexual relations with Ms. Lewinsky, and I'm staying on my former statement about that.
If she
my,
said...
my statement is that I did not have sexual relations as defined by that.
If she says that you kissed her breast, would she be lying?
I'm going to revert to my former statement.
Okay. If Monica Lewinsky says that while you were in the Oval Office area, you touched her genitalia, would she be lying? And that calls for a yes, no, or reverting to your former statement.
I will revert to my statement on that.
If Monica Lewinsky says that you used a cigar as a sexual aid with her in the Oval Office area, would she be lying? yes, no, or won't answer.
I will revert to my former statement.
The grand jury would like to know, Mr. President, why it is that you think that oral sex performed on you does not fall within the definition of sexual relations as used in your deposition.
Because that is, if the deponent is the person who has oral sex performed on him, then the contact is with, not with anything on that list, but with the lips of another person. I had inappropriate, intimate contact. I take full responsibility for it. It wasn't her fault, it was mine. I do not believe that I violated the definition of sexual relations I was given by directly touching those parts of her body with the intent to arouse or gratify. And that's all I have to say.
Just a couple of things here. You notice they're taking excerpts from that testimony. We do our best to make sure that they do not misrepresent the president's testimony in any way, shape, or form. We're joined by our legal analyst, Jeffrey Toobin. Jeffrey, President reverts to his former statement time and time again there. Help us understand what's the point. Is this about the charges of perjury?
This is really all about perjury, and in fact, those excerpts we just saw, they're really a roadmap of the impeachment battle to come, because the heart of Ken Starr's case against Bill Clinton is that he lied about whether he had sexual relations with Monica Lewinsky, even as he understood that term to be defined, and also that he lied about what precisely he did with her, where and how he touched her. And all of those statements, just about all of them, Ken Starr alleges are false and perjurious.
I noticed at one point that the grand jury seemed a little impatient with the president.
Well, it was interesting. I mean, there was a lot of lawyer talk today from both the prosecutors and the president, but the grand jury really seemed to cut through it, and they said, come on, is oral sex sex? And the president stuck to his position of saying, no, it's not, as far as he understood that term.
Let me turn to ABC's Jackie Judd, who's covered this from the very beginning. Jackie, Monica Lewinsky's testimony was also released today, though not in videotape form. Do you see inconsistencies between her testimony and the president's?
There is one key inconsistency, Peter, and it is this. In the grand jury testimony where we just saw the president, he essentially denied that he touched Monica Lewinsky in any way with the intention to arouse her. Monica Lewinsky gives some very detailed descriptions of the 9 or 10 sexual encounters they had in the Oval Office complex, in which he describes just that Mr. Clinton did touch parts of her body. That's important here, Peter, because it goes to the issue of perjury, not so much in the civil deposition back in January, but before the grand jury in August.
Thank you both very much. We'll come back to both of you before this broadcast is finished. In just a moment, the president's memory, a world-class memory, says one of his friends.
This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. Brought to you by AT&T.
Hey. Matt, got your email. Vancouver? Genius. Passed it on to Epps. He's running it through the Northwest.
Hey, Matt. Ideas a hit in the Northwest. I've got purchasing checking suppliers.
You want it up top. Client briefing. Your Vancouver idea.
Want to take your business to the next level?
How do these monks eat all these gassy foods and still maintain their vow of silence? With Beano, it has a natural food enzyme that helps stop gas before it starts. Beano before, quiet after.
At Uniroyal, in order to make a point about our new NailGuard tires, we added a few to our test track. NailGuard tires, designed to seal 90% of tread punctures, instantly and permanently. Only from Uniroyal.
It's back, and this time there's something new. Now there's a wind tunnel that's self-propelled. New self-propelled wind tunnel.
It goes without saying the president would have preferred for the whole world not to see his videotape testimony. While he was everywhere on television today, his public focus was on international events. He spoke before the United Nations General Assembly, making a call to fight terrorism around the world more effectively. We'll have another word about that towards the end of the broadcast. Anyone who watched all 4 hours of the President's testimony today could not help but notice how many times the President said he didn't know or couldn't recall or couldn't remember about what he was being asked. By our count, he said some variation of that at least 148 times. ABC's Sam Donaldson watched the testimony with us this morning. Sam, it's yours.
Well, Peter, no one has a perfect memory, and it's no surprise when anyone, under oath or not, can't remember everything. But in the context of the Starr investigation, the President's highly imperfect memory is both controversial and potentially a factor in charges of perjury. For instance, in the President's Paula Jones deposition last January 17th, the President kept insisting that he could not recall for certain having ever been alone with Lewinsky. Before the grand jury, the President admitted to having been alone with Lewinsky on approximately 9 separate occasions, although he wanted to argue the definition of the word alone.
You were alone with Monica Lewinsky, weren't you?
Well, it depends on how you define alone. Yes, we were alone from time to time, even during 1997, even when there was absolutely no improper contact occurring. Yes, that is accurate. But there were also a lot of times when, even though no one could see us, the doors were open to the halls, on both ends of the hall. People could hear. There were a lot of times when we were alone, but I never really thought we were.
But on one particular date, the prosecutor elicited an unqualified answer.
You were alone with her on December 28, 1997.
Yes, sir, I was.
In the Paula Jones deposition, the President was asked, "Have you ever given any gifts to Monica Lewinsky?" His reply, "I don't recall. Do you know what they were?" Under questioning by Jones' attorneys, the President did recall a few gifts, but he did not mention a series of gifts that he now acknowledges he gave Lewinsky during their December 28th meeting, just about 3 weeks earlier. Why didn't he mention that? The prosecutors wanted to know.
They didn't ask me about the Christmas gifts, and I don't know why. I didn't think to say anything about them.
Also last December, on the 19th, the President met at the White House with his friend Vernon Jordan, and he acknowledged in his grand jury testimony that they talked about Monica Lewinsky's subpoena to testify in the Jones case. But in his Paula Jones deposition, the President said he didn't think he'd talk to anyone about that except his lawyers. How to square that?
Mr. President, 3.5 weeks before, Mr. Jordan had made a special trip to the White House to tell you Ms. Lewinsky had been subpoenaed. She was distraught. She had a fixation over you. You couldn't remember that 3.5 weeks later?
Mr. Weisenberg, if they had access to all this information from their conversations with Linda Tripp, if that was the basis of it, they were free to ask me more questions. They may have been trying to trick me.
Can you tell the grand jury what is tricky about the question? Did anyone other than your attorneys ever tell you?
No, there's nothing. I'm just telling. I have explained. I will now explain for the 3rd time, sir.
Perhaps even more delicate is the President's memory as to why he didn't jump in and correct a misstatement made by his attorney at the Paula Jones deposition, Bob Bennett. At one point, in front of Mr. Clinton, Bennett told the judge that Lewinsky had sworn an affidavit that, quote, "There is absolutely no sex of any kind, in any manner, shape, or form with President Clinton." The President remained silent.
Do you agree with me that if he misled Judge Wright in some way, that you would have corrected the record and said, "Excuse me, Mr. Bennett, I think the judge is getting a misimpression by what you're saying"?
Mr. Bennett was representing me. I wasn't representing him. And I wasn't even paying much attention to this conversation.
And once again, the President wanted to argue definitions.
The statement that there was no sex of any kind, in any manner, shape, or form with President Clinton was an utterly false statement. Is that correct?
It depends upon what the meaning of the word is. Yes. If is means is and never has been, that is not that's one thing. If it means there is none, that was a completely true statement.
Finally, on memory, the President said his once excellent memory had been degraded, and to some extent, the prosecutors were to blame.
I have been blessed and advantaged in my life with a good memory. I have been shocked, and so have members of my family and friends of mine, at how many things that I have forgotten in the last 6 years. But I think because of the pressure and the pace and the volume of events in the president's life, compounded by the pressure of your 4-year inquiry and all the other things that have happened, I'm amazed. There are lots of times when I literally can't remember last week.
And when it comes to memory, Peter, sometimes age is a factor, although perhaps not in the case of Mr. Clinton. But when Ronald Reagan was leaving the White House in his late 70s, he said once, memory, 50 years ago is crystal clear. Yesterday is up for grabs.
Sam, just hang on will you, for 1 second, because there are not many analysts in the country today who know President Clinton as well as does ABC's George Stephanopoulos, who watched the testimony with us today. George, any surprises for you today in what you saw?
Well, I think the president was surprised a few times during the testimony. When he first heard about the cigar, you saw him recoil. When he heard that they had evidence of phone calls he made to Kathleen Willey, he seemed surprised. And also, when he was questioned about the tie Monica Lewinsky supposedly gave him, you saw a tactic the president used when he was surprised. He tried to buy time by asking more questions. But overall, you just saw the Bill Clinton that a lot of us who worked for him have seen for a long time. Many-sided, angry, charming at times, certainly a good lawyer, and also evasive at times.
And as a lawyer, is the president inclined to be well briefed before he goes into a situation like this?
Oh, certainly. He was clearly well briefed, and that's why there were only a few surprises during the course of the testimony. I think the only time his lawyers might have gotten upset is there were some times when he seemed to go on a little long and try to over-explain himself, and you could hear David Kendall sometimes interrupt to stop him.
A very quick question for Sam Donaldson, who's still at the White House. Sam, they've had several hours to absorb this. How do they think they did?
Well, the White House people say they think he did pretty well. As you know, Mike McCurry has made a statement in which he said none of this, no matter what you heard or saw, rises to the level of impeachable offense. They believe that they got by with the very least amount of damage. But then again, Peter, it's not poking a stick at them to say that's what you would expect them to say, isn't it?
And it's early days. Thank you, Sam. We'll come back to you a little later in the broadcast. When we come back right now, the president's personal secretary. Did the president try to influence Betty Curry's testimony?
1-minute Maalox.
In hospital pharmacies, they work fast. They dispense medicines that work fast. And for heartburn, the #1 choice of hospital pharmacies is 1-minute Maalox, not Pepcid AC. Maalox goes to work on stomach acid in 1 minute. Pepcid AC could take over 45 minutes to affect acid. Hospital pharmacies count on the speed of 1-minute Maalox. Shouldn't you?
The #1 choice of hospital pharmacies. It's not Pepcid AC, it's 1-minute Maalox.
Carol Johnson believes the mammogram reminder card we sent her saved her life. Carolyn Skipworth believes her early colon cancer screening saved her life. If it's hard for you to believe that our long-standing commitment to preventive care and early detection actually makes a difference, we have proof, living proof. We're Aetna U.S. Healthcare, raising the quality of healthcare in America.
From now on, embarrassing odor from bladder leakage won't stop me from going where I want to go.
Or doing what I want to do, and it shouldn't stop you.
Introducing A&D personal care products for bladder leakage in soothing dry lotion and cleansing towelettes. It's the first line of products made to capture and eliminate urine odor on contact and soothe irritated skin.
Ordinary lotions or wipes can't do that.
You'll feel fresh, clean, and odor-free all day.
New A&D personal care. A&D as in odor-free.
Are we gonna have a good time tonight?
Bye, Dad. Thanks for jumping in and watching Tyler.
Bye, Mommy.
Bye, sweetie.
There he goes.
If you knew you were gonna be a babysitter today...
Oh, glad it wasn't my teeth.
You would have made sure you used your Fixodent.
Come here. Oh, what are you doing?
Hey, smart move. You did use your Fixodent. So now you're ready
gotta wait.
for just about anything. Nothing holds stronger than Fixodent. Guaranteed.
One of the allegedly impeachable offenses that Kenneth Starr enumerates is that Mr. Clinton tampered with a witness, that he tried to obstruct justice by influencing the testimony of his personal secretary, Betty Currie. What the president said to her and what she did is very much at the center of all this. So once again, we go to ABC's Jackie Judd.
Peter, it was Betty Currie who sometimes helped arrange President Clinton's liaisons with Monica Lewinsky, and so it was Betty Currie the president urgently reached out to after he was blindsided with detailed questioning about Lewinsky by lawyers for Paula Jones. Prosecutors allege that in 2 conversations with Currie, Mr. Clinton tampered with a witness, that he tried to gain Currie's support in backing up his false statements to Jones's lawyers. The president testified that he was only trying to refresh his own memory by comparing it to what Currie recollected.
I wanted to know what Betty's memory was about what she heard, what she could hear. And what I did not know was, I did not know that, and I was trying to figure out, and I was trying to figure out in a hurry because I knew something was up.
So you wanted to check her memory for what she remembered, and that is
That's correct.
Whether she remembered nothing or whether she remembered an inappropriate, intimate relationship.
No, I didn't ask her about it in that way. I asked her about what I was trying to determine was whether my recollection was right, that she was always in the office complex when Monica was there, and whether she thought she could hear any conversations we had.
What Currie testified to was that Mr. Clinton walked her through statements that she concluded the president wanted her to agree with. Statements about Lewinsky that included, "We were never alone, right? You, Currie, could see and hear everything. Monica came on to me, and I never touched her, right?"
Did the conversations that you had with Mrs. Currie, this conversation, did it refresh your recollection as to the events involving Ms. Lewinsky?
Well, as I remember, I do believe, in fairness, that you know, she may have felt some ambivalence about how to react, because there were some times when she seemed to say yes when I'm not sure she meant yes. There was a time it seems like there was 1 or 2 things where she said, "Well, remember this or the other thing," which did reflect my recollection. So I would say a little yes and a little no.
The Starr report concludes that Mr. Clinton's account conflicts with common sense because making false statements to Currie could not remind the president of the facts. On another issue, the president was asked whether he enlisted Betty Currie's help in concealing gifts he had given Lewinsky that had been subpoenaed.
No, sir, I didn't do that. I did not do that.
It was Currie who drove to Lewinsky's apartment to pick up the presents. The Starr report concludes the president was orchestrating the collection of evidence and probably using his personal secretary in that effort. But in his testimony, the president emphasized time and again that giving gifts was something he did routinely, so he had no concern that those gifts he had given Lewinsky were being sought by Jones's lawyers. In other words, he had no motive to want to hide the evidence. Peter?
Jackie, thank you. Back to our legal analyst again for a moment, Jeffrey Toobin. Jeffrey, it sounds, at least this is the layman's ear, lots of hints here, but no outright proof. How does it sound to a lawyer?
Well, it's certainly true that there's no evidence that the president said, "I instruct you to lie." But under the law, he doesn't have to say that. The key in a case about obstruction of justice like this one is, what was the president's intent? Did he intend that Betty Currie lie? And as Congress comes to weigh this issue, and as they perhaps call witnesses, that's going to be the key issue, and it's likely it won't be settled very easily or quickly.
And is the burden of proof in an impeachment hearing the same as it would be in a court?
Not at all. Impeachment is much more of a free-form process. Of course, in a criminal case, the government would have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt its accusations. Congress has no such guidance. They just have to determine whether high crimes and misdemeanors occurred, and how they do that is up to them.
Thank you for reminding us, Jeffrey Toobin. We're going to be taking a short break now, but in the moment we'll come back and talk about that all-important reaction in the Congress.
Enterprise? Hi, I'm at the repair shop. I need to rent a car.
Enterprise will arrange to pick you up,
This is great.
drive you to our place, and get you on your way. Pick Enterprise. We'll pick you up.
Someday I'd like a slightly larger house. Security for my kids, maybe even a little bit for retirement. All right, a lot.
Schwab's Mutual Fund OneSource gives you access to hundreds of no-load funds. And our valuable tools can help you build your portfolio. Call now for our free select list.
Because part of setting a goal is finding a way to reach it.
You know, the last I looked, the average workday lasts more than a few hours, right?
Right.
But average pain relievers may work for a few hours, then quit. Good thing there's Aleve. Aleve has the strength to work on arthritis pain all day long with just 2 pills. It would take 8 Tylenol to do that. So, if your pain reliever isn't putting in a full day's work,
Fire it.
fire it and take Aleve. 2 pills, all day relief. Works for me.
Okay, hon. Today's the day.
All right. Get your cupboards in shape. Clean out the clutter. Pitch them. Ditch them. And switch them to Rubbermaid during Kitchen Shape-Up Week at Kmart. You'll find a great selection of easy tops, serve-and-savers, and microwavable and Telebin containers. So go from clutter to Kmart for the latest in food storage. Rubbermaid, ideas that last.
A little sore.
Kmart, lowest sale prices every time. Guaranteed.
Is there a store between here and the Canadian border we haven't been to? Honey, I'm Pete. I'm starving.
Here's something good for you.
Ensure bars?
Complete balanced nutrition. To go.
Ensure bars with protein, 24 vitamins and minerals, including calcium, vitamin D, iron, zinc, antioxidants, C and E, a source of complete balanced nutrition.
Delicious. What's next?
The Canadian border.
I'm ready.
Ensure bars to your health.
Just to restate the obvious, this is a legal process. This is a process very deeply involved with public opinion, and of course it is a political process. The impeachment process faces the president on Capitol Hill. They've been watching all day today from their various parts of the country. Linda Douglas is on Capitol Hill tonight. Linda, what are you picking up about the impact of today's videotape testimony?
What I'm picking up from both parties is that members are very cautious right now to predict how the public is going to react. I talked to 2 veteran senators, one of each party. Each one said, we have no idea how this is going to play. But some of the Democrats who've been critical of the president noted a change. They say the calls this morning were running strongly in favor of the president, this after last week when those calls were running against the president. Some of the Republicans are also being a little bit low-key in their analysis, saying that this tape may have been anticlimactic for many viewers. People expected the president to lose his temper, and he didn't lose his temper. So that means that perhaps the White House did a very good job of raising expectations that the president would lose his temper.
Do you know
now they think it's kind of a wash.
Do you know what the basis was for the change in the calls to these offices? What
Well,
they picked up?
You never know, Peter, where these calls are coming from, and I want to stress that in advance. But the people who are calling are saying, leave him alone. The tape shouldn't have come out. We're tired of all this. This is enough already. Too much smut. But again, I want to caution, we don't know where the calls were coming from.
Okay, thanks, Linda, very much. ABC's Cokie Roberts is in our Washington bureau. Cokie, we've asked you the litmus test question many times. I know you've talked to a lot of people today. What's the impact of these calls on the political process?
Oh, they're strong, and my reporting turned up exactly what Linda's did. I talked to Democratic House members, many of them from swing districts, and they said that this helped the president today, but they were very struck by the calls that they got last week. One told me she had to hire an extra person to come on just to take the calls, and at that point they were running 70% against the president. Today they were running for the president. And members are very, very taken with calls, particularly if they're from their own district and their own voters. But you know, Peter, these people are being so cautious because they keep saying they are just clueless about what's going to happen.
So what does it mean, help the president? I mean, help the president avoid the impeachment process?
Help him avoid immediate impeachment or an impeachment vote right away. Because at the end of last week, you were getting very strong messages from Democrats that they were having a terrible time supporting the president and that they were really eager for him to resign. That seems to have been staunched somewhat today. But look, you're quite right. The process will go forward. And now what you're hearing from both parties is much more of a cry of get everything out fast, and then we'll see where we are.
Okay, many thanks, Cokie Roberts and Linda Douglas on Capitol Hill tonight. We'll be back in just a moment.
Introducing British Classics, a marriage of Victorian elegance and Caribbean soul. British Classics from Ethan Allen. There's a sale on now.
You see a business deal. At Sprint, we see data. Data that lays the groundwork, that allows people to collaborate. It's the sharing of information that helps build business. And with Sprint Ion, our integrated on-demand network, we'll soon be linked together with even greater ease, flexibility, and power. Because business runs on data, and data runs on Sprint.
Eating Quaker oatmeal on a daily basis can help lower cholesterol. Mine dropped 29 points. That's one under the speed limit here in Lafayette, Colorado. Just a reminder, Quaker oatmeal warms you heart and soul.
Chevy Tahoe with a Vortec engine. The most powerful SUV anywhere.
Tonight at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on ABC.
A review of what we've been through so far in this expanded edition of World News Tonight. The president's entire videotape testimony before the grand jury released today, 4 hours. Good number of questions about sex or with sex at the backdrop, certainly about the obstruction of justice, perjury, tampering with witnesses. The president could not remember a lot of specifics. Coming up in this next half hour, a look at the many moods of Bill Clinton as expressed in his tape testimony today. Monica Lewinsky's complete testimony also released today, and we've been trying to take the temperature of what the public is thinking about on this remarkable day. So we hope you'll stay with us.
ABC Premiere Tuesday brings your favorite family comedy back for Tim's birthday on the River Wild, and Mother Nature takes a shot at the Tool Man.
Mother, I love you!
Then, new from executive producer Chris Rock.
Hey, Ebony Man, remember me?
Hey, you must be Daryl.
They everywhere. What, do we spring a leak or something?
The Hugleys, after the premiere of Home Improvement, ABC Premiere Tuesday.
Stay tuned and we'll reel in 3 kinds of fish from one spot. Just say, Captain D's, please.
Introducing Fish 3 Ways. 3 delectable fish dinners, including our new broiled salmon patty.
Good fish. Yep.
Captain D's, please.
Storm Tracker 2000, keeping you safe from nature's fury. Accurate, dependable, precise. Storm Tracker 2000, the most powerful weather tracking system on television, period.
$6.99. The one low price at Rooms To Go. Just $699 buys you anything you're about to see. Only $6.99 for these incredible sofa and love seat sets. Choose this striking Southwest bedroom, this 18th century cherry bedroom, or this beautiful bedroom, this neoclassic dining room with table and 6 chairs, or this contemporary wall unit. Your choice, $6.99. The one low price, $6.99. $6.99. $6.99 days at Rooms To Go. Now through Tuesday. Don't miss it.
How can you win 2 club seat season tickets for next year's Oilers games in the new stadium? All you have to do is watch Monday Night Live with Jeff Fisher for more information.
Monday Night Live with Jeff Fisher, Monday nights at 6:30 on News 2.
Now, I'm trying to be honest with you, and it hurts me. And I'm trying to tell you the truth about what happened between Miss Lewinsky and me. But that does not change the fact that the real reason they were zeroing in on anybody was to try to get any person in there, no matter how uninvolved with Paula Jones, no matter how uninvolved with sexual harassment, so they could hurt me politically. They just thought they would take a wrecking ball to me and see if they could do some damage. But in this deposition, Mr. Bittman, I was doing my best to be truthful. I was not trying to be particularly helpful to them, and I didn't think I had an obligation to be particularly helpful to them to further, when I knew that there was no evidence here of sexual harassment, and I knew what they wanted to do was to leak this even though it was unlawful to do so. I have always given a lot of people gifts. I have always been given gifts. I do not think there's anything improper about a man giving a woman a gift or a woman giving a man a gift that necessarily connotes an improper relationship. So it didn't bother me. I wasn't, you know, this was December 28th. I gave her some gifts. I wasn't worried about it. I thought it was an all right thing to do. Mr. Weisenberg, I have testified about this 3 times. Now I will do it the 4th time. I am not going to answer your trick questions. I felt very strongly that Miss Lewinsky and everybody else that didn't know anything about Paula Jones and anything about sexual harassment, that she and others were themselves being harassed. I think what they were trying to do to her and all these other people who knew nothing about sexual harassment was outrageous, just so they could hurt me politically. Did I want this to come out? No. Was I embarrassed about it? Yes. Did I ask her to lie about it? No. Did I believe there could be a truthful affidavit? Absolutely. My goal in this deposition was to be truthful, but not particularly helpful. I did not wish to do the work of the Jones lawyers. I deplored what they were doing. I deplored the innocent people they were tormenting and traumatizing. I deplored their illegal leaking. I deplored the fact that they knew, once they knew our evidence, that this was a bogus lawsuit, and that because of the funding they had from my political enemies, they were putting ahead. I deplored it, but I was determined to walk through the minefield of this deposition without violating the law, and I believe I did. This reminds me to some extent of the hearings when Clarence Thomas and Anita Hill were both testifying under oath. I believe that they both thought they were telling the truth. You're dealing with, in some ways, the most mysterious area of human life. I'm doing the best I can to give you honest answers. I didn't have perfect memory of all these events that have now, in the last 7 months, since Miss Lewinsky was kept for several hours by 4 or 5 of your lawyers and 4 or 5 FBI agents, as if she were a serious felon, these things have become the most important matters in the world. So maybe Miss Lewinsky believes she's telling the truth, and I'm glad she got her mother and herself out of trouble. I'm glad you gave her that sweeping immunity. I'm glad for the whole thing. It breaks my heart that she was ever involved in this.
You may recall this was the testimony the president gave on the same day he talked to the nation later in the evening. Later in the evening, whatever transpired between then and his talk to the nation, he was very angry. The president's former chief of staff, Leon Panetta, says he saw a familiar Bill Clinton during those 4 hours today, more often seen in private than in public. The flashes of anger, Mr. Panetta says, the introspective president who can absorb information with amazing clarity, the impatient Bill Clinton, and there was even room for some of the Clinton charm, Mr. Panetta points out, very often a tight smile, but a smile nonetheless. And George Stephanopoulos, his former aide, now ABC News analyst, watches it particularly carefully today. Is this did we see more of the president, the private president today than before?
I think we did. You saw times when the president was nervous and he would clench his jaw. What you didn't see, Peter, is the real red-faced, out-of-control temper tantrum. The president was pretty able to keep himself in control. And there were also some other classic Clinton moments. You know, you just showed this litany where he kept saying, I deplore, I deplore. Right after he finished that, he went to the prosecutors and said, but let me say something sympathetic here, and actually put himself in the prosecutor's shoes. And that's a very familiar Clinton maneuver.
You told me earlier today the president could lose his temper at you quite violently, and you didn't take it seriously.
Well, I didn't take it personally. I mean, the president usually loses his temper because a lot of pent-up frustration is building up. And I think that's actually what happened to him after this 4 hours of grand jury testimony. He kept himself in control, during those 4 hours. Unfortunately, he lost a little bit of control when he went to the country and gave the speech later that night.
Thanks, George. Sam Donaldson at the White House. A President Clinton that you recognize, Sam, in terms of demeanor?
Well, Peter, as you know, this president is extremely skillful in connecting with people. Now, he knew he was on television. He was reaching out to the jurors several times during his testimony. He said, now the grand jury knows, or I think the grand jury would think. You saw a president who generally came across in the clips we just showed as a very forceful individual. And people can look at him and say, I think he's trying to tell it from the heart. But remember, he stood in the Roosevelt room and he wagged his finger and he appeared to be telling it from the heart when he said he had no sexual relations with Monica Lewinsky. So who is the real Bill Clinton? That's the question to determine.
Thank you, Sam. When we come back, the testimony of Monica Lewinsky, also made public today.
Do you like football? Do you like to watch Monday Night Football on ABC? Do you fantasize about seeing a Monday Night Football game in person? Thought so? News 2 and Mapco Express want to make your football fantasy come true. Rush into your nearest Mapco Express, pick up an entry form, fill it out, and mail it in. Then sit back and watch for your name during Monday Night Football and News 2 at 10 after the game. You could win $50 in free gas or a trip or two to Monday Night Football or another pro football game. It's the Monday Night Football Fantasy Sweepstakes from Mapco Express and News 2.
Summer means clearance at your Chrysler and Plymouth dealer. Clearance means low finance rates. Now get 1.9 APR on all Chrysler and Plymouth minivans. Clearance means America's lowest priced minivan, Plymouth Voyager, costs even less. Clearance means big factory authorized cash back. Get $1,500 cash back on Plymouth Grand Voyager and Chrysler Town & Country LXI. Summer means clearance. Clearance means savings at your Chrysler and Plymouth dealer.
Can't help people who can't help themselves.
Those are exactly the people we should be helping.
Life and death don't take weekends off. ER.
Premieres Saturday, September 26th at 6 p.m. on News 2. Watch Bob Mueller on News 2 at 5 and 10.
And now Monica Lewinsky. Transcripts of her testimony to the grand jury were released today at about the same time, in fact, at exactly the same time, the president's videotape testimony was being broadcast to the nation. Some of what Ms. Lewinsky said was in the Starr report released earlier to the Congress, and a good deal more is found in her complete testimony today. And ABC's Chris Wallace joins us from Washington. Chris.
Peter, there are no new bombshells in Monica Lewinsky's testimony, but it does explain, from her point of view, what was going on in their relationship. Much of it hurts the president, but some of it may actually help.
When Lewinsky testified before the grand jury for the first time last month, she said she was nervous and taking antidepressant medication that affected her short-term memory. But she laid out in great detail her relationship with the president. 11 pages of contacts that included 9 instances of oral sex and more than 10 of phone sex. The president says there were fewer encounters, and they began months later, after she was no longer an intern. Lewinsky told the grand jury the relationship began when they saw each other at public events. Intense flirtation, she called it. By November of '95, she says, they had a sexual relationship. These pictures were taken on November 17th, the day she says they had their second such encounter. Throughout her testimony, she says, she loved the president. He always made me smile when I was with him. He was sunshine. Here in June of '96, she brought her family to the Oval Office to meet Mr. Clinton. But Lewinsky is defensive about that infamous dress that had the president's stain on it. It's a work dress, she says, not a cocktail dress. She denies saving it as a souvenir, saying she planned to wear it again months later, but that it no longer fit. When she told Linda Tripp about the stain, she says Tripp told her to put it in a safe deposit box. Instead, she sent it to her mother's apartment in New York. Lewinsky also describes how the relationship fell apart. She calls May 24th of '97 D-Day, when the president dumped her. In this email to a friend last September, she writes, "I can't go through all this crap anymore. In some ways, I hope I never hear from him again, because he'll just lead me on." And she says she was jealous of this picture of the Clintons together at the end of '97, that it shows an aspect of their relationship he never revealed to her. But what set Lewinsky off most was the president's August 17th speech to the nation.
Indeed, I did have a relationship with Ms. Lewinsky that was not appropriate.
3 days later, again before the grand jury, Lewinsky says, until then, she thought she still loved him, but that she was hurt by his reported testimony, that this was a service contract, that all I did was perform oral sex on him. I thought it was a lot more than that. To the end, Lewinsky denied she had ever been asked to lie or was ever promised a job in return for her silence. And she ended her grand jury testimony with a simple statement: I hate Linda Tripp. Peter?
Thanks very much, Chris Wallace in Washington. When we come back, the president and the people, namely public reaction.
My great-grandmother shopped at Castornot because of their great service, great selection, great sales, great corsets, oxygen. In the 30s, Marlene wanted to be alone at all the Castornot sales. In the 50s, my favorite song was You Ain't Nothing But a Clothes Hound, shopping all the time. I used to disco to the beat of Saturday night sales fever. Today, I'm an obsessive-compulsive Castornot salesaholic, and I feel good about it.
Castornot, 100 years you've been at the top. Time flies when you shop and you save. At Castornot, 100 years we've been together. You didn't get older, you just got better. Celebrate 100 years. The sale of the century is finally here.
100 years making a difference.
Break away from the pack. Take your best shot now at Predator's inaugural season tickets. Be assured of great seats to sold-out games. The Red Wings, Capitals, Hasek and Gretzky. Pull the trigger today, cause the only things flying faster than the puck are season tickets. Call 770-PUCK now for the Predators 20-game plan or season tickets. Cause to get bit, you gotta be there.
Here it is. It's what you've always wanted. An Honest Abe log home. Honest Abe log homes are not only beautiful, they're durable, energy efficient, and as unique as your lifestyle. Now try and find that with some brick or vinyl home. Custom designs, choices of styles and options, the warmth and beauty of wood makes Honest Abe the natural choice for the best built log home today. Call now for a free brochure and ask about our catalog, video, and CD-ROM information kit. Honest Abe log homes. It's what you've always wanted.
As we said at the beginning, it's difficult to make judgments in depth this soon about public opinion, let alone its impact on the president's future, which is not to say that people haven't had some pretty strong reaction to this today. We've heard a little bit about it in Washington already. Here in New York, people from everywhere tend to visit Times Square, and ABC's Bill Blakemore was there today to listen.
Around Times Square today, reactions were strong and varied.
Someone who doesn't have a memory or selective memory is not someone who I would like to see stay in the office.
Enough is enough. He lied, he apologized. Just let it go. I mean, there are other things to be doing right now. I don't want to know those details.
But for everyone who did not want to know, we found someone who did.
I don't want to accuse a person or feel like a person should be accused wrongly. And I feel that this really gives me the facts about the situation, not reporters' conjecture or the spin.
Among the many who did not watch, reasons were also strong and varied.
I'm not watching it.
Why?
I'm protesting it because I didn't elect Bill Clinton to be my rabbi, priest, or pope. He's there to run the country, and I think it's in such poor taste to run those tapes.
I haven't watched it. Why? Because I have been long since totally disgusted with Bill Clinton in more severe terms than I can express.
Across the country, where they watched in a small-town Colorado diner, two neighbors had the same differences.
I mean, a lot of guys make mistakes. I've done it, and I was married, and I didn't want to tell my wife either. Yeah, leave him alone. Don't bother me a bit. I think he's done a good job.
He's done a good job, yeah, but he should have never did what he did and lied about it.
Did watching the tape today make a difference?
He was a good man, but it makes people wonder right now.
In San Francisco, this man watched it on the internet and said it helped him make up his mind.
I think he's in big trouble. He better resign. It's embarrassing for the country.
But in Atlanta, one law student felt it improved Clinton's position.
After reading the transcript on the internet, I thought that he was going to be lying. I thought he was going to look pretty bad. I think he actually looks a lot better.
Another law student did not think so.
Unfortunately, the terms oral sex and the like are now part of our history, and I think that's sad, and I think that Bill Clinton is to blame for that.
None we spoke with today seem to have changed their opinions because of the videotape, but it did seem to make opinions on both sides stronger. Bill Blakemore, ABC News, New York.
One other very noticeable reaction to the president today. At the UN General Assembly, when the president walked in, he was given a standing ovation by the representatives from nearly 200 countries. According to the delegates, some of it was admiration, some of it sympathy, some of it encouragement, some of it a way to say to Mr. Clinton that he should not lose sight of how important foreign policy is to the rest of the world. There is some other news today, and we'll be back in just a moment.
It isn't necessarily a 9-to-5 world anymore. People are working harder, pushing harder, doing more than ever before. So to all those hard-working people who have Vanderbilt in their health plan, we promise some of the finest doctors in America and the most comprehensive healthcare system in our region. But most of all, we promise to put our hearts and minds behind your health, so you can get back to all those things that matter most.
Next, Donnie and Marie is nothing less than...
fantastic! She's like the little guy at the door of Oz.
I know, exactly. We've got Beverly Hills 90210's Brian Austin Green. From The Practice, Cameron Manheim, talking all about her Emmy win.
Don't you think she's a little thin? I think we need to beefen her up a little bit.
And speaking of awards...
It's been wonderful.
Country superstar Leanne Rimes in a very special performance. It's all on the next Donnie and Marie.
Donnie and Marie, tomorrow at 3 on News 2.
Yeah, I have a cheeseburger without pickles.
I'll check. He wants it without pickles. He's checking.
Yes.
You're on fire, sir.
Eat what you want. At Subway, every order is a special order. With your choice of fresh ingredients. Subway, the way a sandwich should be.
Hello?
After 4 p.m., buy any footlong sub with a medium soft drink and get a second footlong sub for just 99 cents.
You know, here lately, Great Southern Wood's been running a lot of funny commercials to try to get people to think yellow when they're building outdoors. But seriously, when you buy lumber from Great Southern Wood, you know it's clean and straight and backed by a lifetime guarantee. How do you know? By looking for this yellow tag. It means you've bought the best. So when you're building outdoors, yellow is your color. Remember, if it doesn't say Osmos on the yellow tag, believe me, you don't want it. Yellow.
Hey, this fall,
you gotta have a cool time.
You gotta have friends.
Starting September 22nd at 6:30 p.m. on News 2. Watch Brett Lee on News 2 at 10.
As we said, there's other news in California today. The sudden death of Olympic track star Florence Griffith Joyner. Her family says she died of a heart seizure at her home in Mission Viejo. She was only 38. Here's ABC's Judy Muller.
Florence Griffith Joyner said she took up running to set herself apart from her 10 siblings. She set herself apart, all right, from the whole field.
Riding across at 21:76.
Always a standout for her style, with her radical outfits and long nails, she finally stood out for her speed at the 1988 Olympic trials.
Florence Griffith Joyner blowing away the field in a 10:49.
Her world record in the 100-meter dash stunned the track world.
Cannot be. No one can run that fast.
FloJo, as her fans call her, went on to set another world record for the 200-meter dash at the 88 Olympics. The times were so astonishing, they prompted rumors that she'd been taking steroids. Griffith Joyner chalked up the rumors to competitive envy.
It's been something that has been a part of track and field since I've been in it. Rumors, petty jealousy. People are going to think what they want to think.
Her death at the early age of 38 has raised new questions about her physical condition. Her husband says she died at their California home of what he called a heart seizure, which is not a precise medical term. An autopsy is planned to try to determine the exact cause of death. Griffith Joyner retired from track just a year after her Olympic victory. She then had some success with acting and modeling, but nothing could match the flash of '88.
She has a place in history. You cannot take her 1049 and her gold medals from her. She earned them. However she did it, she earned them.
And to this day, her world records still stand. Judy Muller, ABC News, Los Angeles.
In Puerto Rico today, they're riding out one of the worst hurricanes in decades. Hurricane George, not George, but George, with 110-mile-an-hour winds, did serious damage in the Virgin Islands before reaching Puerto Rico. Before it made land, thousands of people boarded up their homes and headed for shelters. If the hurricane sticks to its current path, it could reach the mainland U.S. in just a few days. On Wall Street today, investors reacted to bad news on the Asian markets by selling off their stocks early in the day. But the Dow Jones Industrials recovered by the end of the day, gaining 37 points to close at 79.33. On the NASDAQ index, stocks were up 16 points. We will be back in just a minute.
Energy-efficient appliances.
I'd probably pay upwards $4.50 or so.
What would you pay for an Arby's sub?
$6.95.
Would you believe any 2 subs for just $4? Nah.
No way. For this much meat in a sub, I would have expected to be a lot more.
Honest, any 2 for just $4.
For all that you get in this sandwich, that is a great price. They'll put everybody else out of business.
You can go anywhere and get filled up, but you can only get the 2 subs for $4 deal at Arby's.
Thanks to a partnership between TVA, the community, and the local power company, not to mention the low price of electricity, Boeing is building a new rocket booster plant right here in the Tennessee Valley, creating 6,000 new jobs. So, if you happen to see the Boeing folks around, help them out, would you? After all, they're just rocket scientists.
Each new day brings more new fun. Memories in the making.
Seems like every day the kids just do something that I want to take a picture of.
Every smile's a special one. A treasure for the taking.
I can't wait around for specials. I might miss something important, so I take my film back to Walmart. Their prices are as low as they can be all the time, every day. And they do a great job.
Always great pictures, always low prices. At Walmart.
What makes a woman sexy?
Provocative.
Does she have a pulse?
Even the celebrities tell all in a special you can really get excited about.
You like to watch, don't you?
Sex with Cindy Crawford, ABC premiere Tuesday.
Well, this has been a special edition of World News Tonight because for the first time in the nation's history, we saw a president testify to a grand jury. 4 hours on tape, Mr. Clinton's August 17th testimony. Today it was broadcast for the world to see, and as best we can tell, a great many people watched. There was, yes, quite a lot about sex, at least that was the background. The president refused to answer many of the more uncomfortable questions directly, and there is no way to predict at this early stage what the impact will be on public opinion or what's going to happen when the Congress returns. That is our report for this evening. Thank you for joining us. Later this evening, there'll be a special 1-hour edition of Nightline, asking the question, will the president's televised testimony change minds? I'm Peter Jennings. See you tomorrow.
Tomorrow, we have to work to make a living, but some people say 9 to 5 is out. So what are they doing? Watch ABC's World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. This has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source. ABC News, now all